My life is crumbling.
Things are not perfect.
You just have to go really hard.
That's a foxhole moment, I guess.
So we want to dive deep into the trenches.
I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be like this.
Everything's sacrificed when you're trying to build a business.
Yeah, I want that.
We'll see how deep in the foxhole you get.
Welcome back to another episode of In the Foxhole, Season 2.
Season 2.
We did it, a whole season of Season 1, and now we're back with Season 2. And what better guest to kick off Season 2 than our good friend, Jon Majak. What's up, Jon?
What up? What up? So glad to be here, guys. Season 2? Come on.
An extra fun part of you being the kickoff of Season 2 is you do have a claim to fame at being at the very beginning of our relationship.
I was going to bring that up.
Something like that.
You are the first person to publicly see us together. and I remember it was at the Atlanta airport, and Angela and I are walking with our hands, holding hands, getting ready to board the plane. And then all of a sudden we see Jon, and we're like, hands off. What's up, Jon?
I'm like, what are you guys doing here together? You know, and you're like, we got a layover together. I'm like, oh, me too. Let's all hang out then. You know,
we had all been together just like 4 days earlier in Las Vegas at Clippa, where we met. Yep. And you're like, wow, we're all together again.
I loved it, man. I loved it. That's a good part of the story. Like, that's not too many people are blessed to be part of that initial stage. Something I'll never forget, guys.
It's crazy. It's been a year though. It was a year 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
3 weeks ago now. Yeah. It was 17. So yeah, time has flown.
That's what I'm talking about. And you guys are taking over the world as you're growing and enjoying the journey. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
Having fun. That's the best part about it. So, well, Jon, we've shared some stories. We've had some laughs. For our viewers who don't know who you are, shame on you. But why don't you tell them who you are so we can get to know a little bit more about you? Let's
go. Guys, my name is Jon Majak. I'll start by saying I'm a father, a husband. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I always say that I've written my own paycheck for 25 plus years, and it's been one heck of a journey along the way. I started my journey in the exterior cleaning business. I was out there scrubbing roofs at like 13 years old side note, my dad should have never allowed me to be up there with a tennis ball, with a hover cover, with no insurance, no nothing, but that's a whole different story. I built that business up. It was actually called Jon's Perfect Pressure, and failed a bunch of times throughout the process. I hitched my trailer to the back of my Avalon and just started knocking on doors, beating on doors like most entrepreneurs do. Tripped and stumbled throughout the years, then started to get things right. And I built a business called Power Clean. And the business started taking off because I did things the right way with operations manuals and getting people to trust me and building a good business. Long story short, that business it built up to a really great level, and I ended up selling it and completely accidentally started Mr. Pipeline. And now I've got my hands on a lot of different things, but the mission's never really changed. It's follow my heart, try to help as many people as I can along the journey, and man, just try to be God's hands and feet before my time is up, you know?
That's incredible. And Jon, one thing about you, I love seeing you on social media. You got a great brand for your company, Mr. Pipeline. Get to see you on stage at all the events we get to go to. But you have such an open heart, and you're always there for anybody, no matter what, to talk to, share experiences. And it's one of my favorite things, attributes about you that I love.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that, man. The feeling's mutual, man.
And you live that passion out loud that you just said of like, it's all about the lives that you can impact, and using your gifts to do that. And sometimes the vehicle changes, right? What the business looks like, or how you are impacting those lives, but you can tell that that's always at the forefront, is the people's lives that you're going to impact.
I appreciate that.
And helping other realize other people realize that that's the goal too, right? We all have a different vehicle of what that is and what we're doing. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we have crazy that changes.
Yep, the car breaks down. Sometimes the vehicle gets on fire. Like it's a complete disaster most of the times, even though we want to pretend it's not. That's me.
Yeah. So, I mean, pressure washing to marketing, like that's a huge change in direction. Like you said, you fell into that. What was the cause of that?
So when I was doing Jon's Perfect Pressure at 13 to 15 years old, knocking on doors, all I had was these little flyers, and that's all I did. I printed them out on like Microsoft Paint, cut them up with scissors, passed them everywhere. And it got some things to happen. I got a couple bucks in the bank account. But then I started realizing that if I ever want to build something special, this is when first the internet started popping off and Google started coming out and people were actually searching online. And I'll never forget it. I went to with Barnes and Nobles at the time and bought an SEO book for dummies, a Google Ads book for dummies. And I stayed up every day and night just trying to figure out what all that even meant. I just heard that Google Ads was something, or AdWords was what it was called at the time. And I studied. I became a student and I started to build my own website. And everything I did was just trial and error. I was on the phone with GoDaddy more than any human being should ever be on the phone with GoDaddy. That was me. And I just figured it out over time. And I spent a lot of money, and then one day a call came in and it was from Google Ads. Next day, another call came in. I'm like, wait a minute, things are really starting to line up. And before you know it, I pulled myself off the truck and started putting people in place and falling back and just kind of like driving that business. And it's wild because after that business took off and it started having a life of its own, I started finding so much like love and passion for marketing. So I started just doing more and more and more. And the wild part is, guys, like when I sold my business, I was doing so many crazy things. Like I think I was flipping leads everywhere I went. I had so much business coming in that I would flip the leads to like painters and roofers and gutter guys. And it's wild because after I sold my business, I went into the chlorine store and I said, thank you guys for my last payment. The guy looked at me and he goes, no, real quick, before I let you go, he goes, now that you're done, what's next? I said, I have no idea. And he goes, why don't you try giving a shot to market my business? And I'm like, really? It was a pool company and it's crazy. I ended up getting that thing right. And then the painter that I was selling leads to came to me and said, hey, would you ever think about marketing for me? And I'm like, let's try it. And before you know it, I got 2 clients, and the 2 turned into 10 and 10 turned into 20, and a lot of ups and downs and horrible moments throughout that journey too. But that's how it happened. Just one foot in front of the other and kept just trying to follow my heart.
And start it from nothing, start that new thing that was completely different and start it over from.
That's it.
Not from nothing, because you had the wisdom.
Yeah, no, I had nothing. That was horrible wisdom too. Yeah.
But it's just, and growing up in high school, we think we have this vision for what we want to do in life. And, some people go to college and they find out that's not for them. You had the pressure washing, and that was the vehicle to get you where you are today, but that wasn't your passion. Just like with me, the pressure washing, I used to love it, but I wasn't passionate about it. Then I started the Christmas lights. I'm like, oh my God, this is like my calling. This is what excites me. This is what gets me going every day. This is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to just keep pushing. So, things change, people change, passions change, but you found your true calling. And what a great job you've done, because I see you guys everywhere. Anytime we go to shows, you're probably one of the top names listed when anybody's asking for an SEO company or Google Ads company throughout all the industries I'm a part of. So
thanks, man. It means a lot. You know how it goes. Just like you guys, you work your butt off. Nobody believes in you for a certain amount of time, and then people start believing, and then you start believing in yourself, and then years later, you somehow the feeling. You somehow look back and you're like, this has actually turned out pretty good. So, yeah. So I'm doing that journey now with a bunch of different stuff now. And it's just like, I got a lot of that little wisdom along the way, but now I'm building different things. And for me, it's, again, just one foot in front of the other, being imperfect, and hopefully things work out.
Well, like you said, you have a lot of different things going on. What is a win you're celebrating in some arena of your life?
So can I share a personal win?
Yes.
All right, cool. So my personal win has been, Angela, I know you and I we connect on this tip, like of being super vulnerable, super like that's where our power is, so you'll appreciate this. So I've struggled with my son, Camden, for he's 6 now, but I've really struggled with him a lot, and behavioral issues and different just things. And unfortunately, I took me down some tough paths over the last 6 years. And just recently, I just started seeing, rather than having that resistance of trying to make him fit in the mold or try to pretend he's quote unquote normal and all this other stuff, I said, you know what? I see him and I see his soul so much deeper than I ever have. I don't know what unlocked in me, but I pray every day. And he started getting the right therapies and the right help, and some of the right people that were kind of hurting us left our life, and family members and stuff. And, over the last month or 2, I was able to truly show up for him in every single way, because I see his spirit and his soul deeper than ever. And now I can be the dad that he needs me to be. And you always feel like you are, but for me, I always felt what am I doing wrong? And over the last few months, I feel like if something's really connected, and things are still challenging, things are still painful, but there's so much beauty in it now, because now we're taking this journey together with more help, with just like this clarity that I've never had before. And he looked at me randomly the other day, and this has never happened. He just looked at me randomly and he held my hand and he goes, "Daddy." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Thank you for everything." And I said, "What did you just say?" Because I love you. I'm like, dude, 6 years in the making, for that moment. And that is like the greatest win I think I've had in a long time. It's the little things. And that's the one thing that comes to mind right away.
Well, that is such a significant win, really like the biggest win in your life that there can be, right? As a parent. And congratulations that you got to this point so early. My kids are now adults. And it took me a long time to get to the letting go of the really working on yourself. And, you said being vulnerable. I know, you are a student of that. You can see that coming through and constantly like working on yourself and your own journey. And we have to get to a place of our own healing from our own stuff, or we are just constantly judging everyone else. And it's not like when I say judging, people think like it's hard to judge your 6-year-old, but you so see it from the perspective of parenting, or at least I did. I wanted them to fit in this mold. I thought I had to be a good mom, and their behavior, not doing the things that like were in my script of how they should act, behavior wise, on everything, what they should say, how they should be performing and everything. I had the script in my head of how it should be. And if they weren't doing it, it was somehow a reflection on me. And I could only see them through this filter of me and my brokenness. And I think, being able to see that in him, like you said, being able to see that his soul is that, you've let your own ego out of the way and strip that down so that instead of seeing him through this filter of your ego, you are able to now, see his soul.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing. It's hard to let go of control.
You have to just know how it goes. You have to, at a certain point, just know that God gave you exactly what you're supposed to have, the exact child you're supposed to have. He could have given him to anybody, and he chose you. And like, that's that paradigm shift. Like, it's not, life isn't all about you. His life matters just as much as mine, if not more. And I think things really started to connect with me. So it's like, I find myself in this spot of just now this cool thing. I have this new, like, not mantra, but like thing that I'm embedding into my family core values now. And it's helping serve my son in so many ways. And it's doing the things that scare you all the time, because my son gets locked up so much. And I see it in business with so many people. You guys know this, but I see it behind the scenes with my son. Most kids are just down to do certain things. He gets caught in his own mind. And I'm now looking at him getting down to his level. And I'm saying, remember what the Majaks do. We do the things that scare us. And he's like, he takes a deep breath and we go together. And like, doesn't always work, but it's our new thing. And it's really helping me serve him, be a better dad. And I'm even taking that stuff into business as much as I can. So it's awesome.
That's incredible. And one thing I've always told my kids for as long as I remember is like, what happens when we fall down? We get right back up. Because we're gonna have these hurdles, these obstacles, these things in life that may knock us down. But as Chanowskis, like you said, as Majaks, we're gonna keep pushing through this and persevere. So it only makes me. And I love that you shared the personal win over. I'm sure you've got a ton of professional, but like that's beautiful, man. Thank you.
Nothing matters more, man. You guys know that. Nothing matters more. So I appreciate you bringing that out. That was a cool thing. I haven't shared a win in a minute. That's awesome.
John, season 2, man. I've been in business for the pressure washing 15 years, and guess what? It still can suck. 2-3 weeks ago, I was crying. I was crying in my truck, and life was just, I thought everything was good, and then it wasn't. But I was able to get through it. Can you share a moment when business was just, like bad? Things went wrong. Nothing was going right. What was going on in your life? What was going on in business? And how'd you get out of that?
Do you want me to break out my diary of the 3,000 things that happened last week? Yeah. It's like, dude, it's my biggest, it's crazy because there's been a lot of failures along the journey, but the one that always sticks out to me is, so it was in a different company that I owned. And it was a garage business, like a garage organization business. And it was incredible because the business it went so fast. It was basically doing like everything in Palm Beach Island. And if you know Palm Beach Island, it's all high-end stuff. It's Donald Trump area, like that's big money. So I told myself, guess what, babe? I looked at my wife. I'm like, guess what, babe? I got a great business that's finally high ticket. So I don't have to struggle anymore. Takes a few jobs. And it's all going to happen. She's like, about time, So I built this business up and we went from 0 to over north of $1 million within 4.5 months. We landed like a huge commercial lift business, like auto repair business. So we put in like 37 lifts, landed all these crazy homes in Palm Beach Island. It was like we struck gold. I partnered with somebody who had done this before. So like he knew the game, I knew the marketing, and it connected. Well, you always hear that saying, like, be careful, like if it's too good to be true, it is, because I wasn't ready for that. And here I am building this business up. This guy, what he did is he was a partner, a friend behind the scenes, that what he was doing was plotting and scheming. And I didn't see it clear. Well, we built this business up, things were going great. But what he was doing is he was siphoning money out of the bank account. And I mean, imagine that 4 months into a partnership, you're growing the business, huge mistake from my side, not locking in that access, right? Also opening up credit cards under my name because I thought it was full trust. Built this business up. He's siphoning all of the cash out because we said we take like quarterly distributions. Not only did he take all the money out, but he ran all the cards up. And dude, let me tell you this. One day, I remember sitting in my office and saying, hey, we should hit up so-and-so. So looking at my other partner, I said, and so we get our distributions and really, start to move forward. He goes, all right. So I called up my partner, phone off. I'm like, okay, no big deal. Call him again, off, all day off, all next day off. Before you know it, a call came in from a client saying, so-and-so's didn't show up to our house and he took our deposit. We don't know where he is. I'm like, me neither. And then that happened more. And the dominoes started falling. Another one came in, an email. Hey, where's so-and-so? He took our deposit. I looked at my best friend, JC, John. I looked at John and I said, dude, I feel like we're in the middle of like American Greed episode or on 60 Minutes. He goes, no, Johnny, don't think like that. Long story short, this guy ended up taking everything we had and creating a cancer diagnosis and fled the country. And this is who I am. So you guys like know who I am at my core and your audience knows. I'll never forget the moment of all these people had all their deposits taken from this guy. And John and I looked at each other and said, you know what? God's watching us. We're going to pay all those people back. And we're going to tell them, we're going to call the cops. We're going to let them know what he did. And then we're going to get on payment plans with these people, even if it's small. We're going to make right because they didn't deserve that. And we took full ownership of it. And it's been years. This happened right during the COVID time. Crazy enough. My whole life's changed since then. I see people so much different than I used to. My trust isn't where it's at. Like I can kind of see the BS a mile away, And the craziest part for me is it took me from like something you can't really ever learn in business, like that school of hard knocks. It like leveled me up so fast. So now I'm like, I only partner with certain people. I only invest in certain things. I only take out credit in certain areas. Like I'm wiser than I've ever been. So that's like the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And it's been the learning lesson of a lifetime.
Partnerships, I mean, they could be a blessing or they can be just a destroyer. And I mean, I'm the same, like I'm real iffy about them. And I've seen some great people like Brett and Ryan, great partnership. But good Lord, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's fresh too. That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
That is fresh. And you can tell you're not, you can get bitter or better in situations like that. And you can spend, a lifetime being bitter. And being the victim mentality. And, you turned it right around into, okay, this is going to be a lesson. And just like you said, God gives you the child you need. Sometimes you have to have a painful lesson put in front of you to get to the next level, because there's something like big waiting. And evidently you weren't meant to learn the lesson through an easy way.
It's like a new story of my life.
There was a big lesson that you needed to learn, and maybe it was in the people. That isn't the traditional lessons that we think in business, but that you really were meant for big things and working with people, and needed a lesson in how you're going to get first.
I love that. Yeah, because you naturally trust everyone. At least you try your best. You see the good in people, and then something like that happens, and you're like, "Wow, let me recalibrate real quick." And you're not sure if you're to blame or if you're a bit like, and then we filed the police report. We ended up finding out that this guy, this is the second time he's done it. He did it in Texas to somebody else. Wow. Yeah. He did the same thing. They said he's a career criminal. went by different names. And I'm like, dude, wow. Yeah. So huge blessing in disguise, because at the end of the day, the money comes and goes. Like I never felt it. In some ways, I'm like, that all could have been money in my bank account. But at the end of the day, it's like, how much money do you need? Auto pay people, knowing I'm doing the right thing, and you get back to the real mission that matters. And I feel like it's a test of a lifetime. So yeah.
So what was, I mean, you know, you said you knew this guy for a while, or?
He was a client of Mr. Pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like one of the guys, you're like, wow, you're doing tremendous numbers. He's like, dude, we should do something bigger and better. So years went by and I'm like, he's a great guy. Let's do it. And crazy stuff.
He was paying his bills at Mr. Pipeline.
No problem. like the biggest client, like top 3 clients. I'm like, surely he's the real deal, right? You would never second guess that. So whatever. At the end of the day, he's not even worth any more of our breath, but he is worth the learning lesson for everybody who's listening to In the Foxhole. Listen, guys, be careful. Like, it's people are out there that really don't want you to succeed, but on the same time, there's people that are rooting for you and really want you to kill it. And see those guys. Do your best to see that so clear, because you got to hang out, like you said the other day, Angela. You got to surround yourself with people that are your tribe.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, like the trust is an interesting thing in business and in life, right? Because you learned this lesson of, you said not trusting everyone and trying to be able to see through a lens, but you can also have an experience like that in business or life that you so just like open your heart. I mean, I'm sure you're thinking now blindly trusted, and then go too far in the other direction that you don't trust people, that you have built now this wall around yourself that have completely taken you away from trust in relationships, even within your tribe. And so it's certainly a balance of walls down, being able to have those deep relationships that require complete trust, yet learning to trust yourself, of trusting the right people.
Right. Are we going to name this episode The Power of like Trust? This is a good one. This is crazy. Right. Great questions, guys.
There could be a whole episode on that, of how to figure that out in life.
Right. Trust in business. Like, that's insane. Partnerships, trusting the right customers, because not everybody's your customer, the right employees. Yeah.
John, I want to pivot. I'm like, I've been staring at you, been staring at the all clean shirt, been staring at the line, and I just got a glimpse of this beautiful book in the background.
There it is.
Yes. Ring the bell. I mean, congratulations to that. You want to talk about that real quick? It's a great book and I want our viewers to know about it.
Thanks, man. Thanks. So this book was just a labor of love. It took me about 3 years to write. You guys were part of that process. I'll never forget you reaching out and saying, where are you at? What's going on? How can I support? That's the little things in life you don't really forget. And for me, appreciate that. Thank you so much, because there was times, you guys know, I just wanted to say, you know what, let me burn the ship down. I can't do this anymore. It finally came together, and it all happened. And I had no intentions of writing the book, just started writing out and journaling. And before you know it, I'm kind of like, something's happening here. And I pieced it all together. And then I realized this is kind of like somewhat of a biography, but like a story. And then I kind of built it up and I added as much value as I can. And it all kind of came together. It's a beautiful thing, because ultimately the book is all about ringing the bell, like making as much noise as you can. And it's a journey of an entrepreneur who has to go through the narrow road, where most entrepreneurs get chewed up and spit out. The narrow road is the times where your family and friends doubt you, where you doubt yourself. You don't really even know if you like your business name, if you've got a business, like if you've got a like you don't know anything. The narrow road is dark, lonely, and scary, and most people get killed in that journey. But then you make it through. You make it through. If you're blessed enough to make it through, there's clarity, and like at that moment, you can see what's going on. And I started feeling like that's a mountain town. And in that, what's the next trek? And it was like this really jagged, bumpy road to the top. And at the top is this really magnificent bell, where if the entrepreneur is lucky enough to fight through every other chapter and get to the top, they smash that bell as loud as they can. Everybody in that town is going to hear them. And if they can hear you, you can show up for them. You can do business for them. And at that same time, the pastors live in the town. The community, the community that needs help is in that area, right? The adoption places and you name it, like any hospitals, and also your employees live there and other things like that. So it's like, I started realizing once you ring that bell, it's not all about money. You can also do good. So that's why I kind of came up with that concept. If you smash that thing loud enough, you can make a ton of money, but you can also give back and serve others. So yeah, it's like, it took a few years and it hit, and I'm so grateful it did. And I got some wonderful contributors in there, and we did the audiobook. So yeah, grateful that chapter is done, but it's like still doing my best to let people know it exists.
Awesome. Congratulations to you on that.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
A huge accomplishment. I know it was fun being part of that. We were talking about, you finishing the book last year at Sales Boost and getting over that. And it is such a great message when you're saying the narrow passage again. I'm like, sometimes we got to go through a lot of those. If you're listening and it takes you longer to get to the top of that, because sometimes we revisit that in our business when you're saying, what's the name of my business? What am I doing here anyway? Do I like?
Yeah. Does any of this even make sense?
Does any of this make sense? How did I get here? But such a great message and circles back to how we, began the episode in making an impact. And a lot of times you don't realize, you get kind of stuck in yourself and the, dollars in the bank as a business owner, and not realize all of the big aspect of the community that you're impacting, the people's lives that are your team members and their families, and giving them a mission and giving them a dream, and other people seeing your story, other people watching you on the journey to ring the bell, and inspiring them to want to do the same thing as well.
I love that. It's true. And I look up to certain people, and like, I remember like trying to do my discovery of like trying to find the purpose of like when high achievers get to where they're at, like what do they have to say when it's all said and done? Like, were they super happy? I remember reading a book called How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis, the creator of Maxim. Never, ever have I heard of a more capitalistic monster in my life. And like, it's an amazing book because you learn what's going on in somebody's mind that does $1 billion building a magazine empire from scratch. But the things he says are so ruthless. And I take that in because I want to understand, and I want to capture that education, that knowledge, and be better to see if that's who I want to be, or if who else do I want to be like. And I remember seeing Tony Robbins, one of his events, and he was saying the secret to life is contribution. Like, it's the greatest thing you can do. And I think I'd rather be more like him than Felix Dennis. And so I started kind of pivoting and adjusting my life to serving others, really helping others, not even when there's money involved, and somehow it makes sense. So
yeah, I was going to piggyback on that. The contribution part, like, people often get confused. That has to be a financial contribution. But just, being there for somebody, showing up, talking, sharing experiences on Facebook. We like talking about the good and the bad. That's why we do the anti-highlight reel, because we want people to know that, hey, you're not alone. And that alone can change somebody's life.
yes.
They might be stuck in this hole thinking, here I am, like, I'm alone on Pain Island by myself. And then they hear our episode, season 2 of Jon, and like, shoot, I had a painful partnership with somebody, and I thought it was just me. So it's great. It's the opposite of selfish by sharing these things. You're being selfish by not sharing them, because you just never know how many lives you can impact, whether it's they listen to it next week, whether they listen to it a year from now.
Right.
But that impact, we may not see all those ripples, but it's just it's an incredible feeling by showing up and giving back.
It sure is, man. Sure is. And if everybody's listening to this that is considering doing more in their business, more than just trying to drive profit, start thinking about how you can serve others, and start with your internal family. Tommy Mello says it best in the book. He's like, you got to take care of your own backyard, right? You got to make sure you're taking care of the gal in your office who has bald tires. Like, look at the people who might need some help before you start doing things for, like, what is it? Wounded veterans, or whatever the charity is. Yeah. It's like, the reality is like, those are all awesome, but start close. And give privately first, and take care of people. Then you'll start to realize the power is not in the PR aspect. The power is in really, really caring, and the rest will just take care of itself.
And when you said Tommy, I was going to say, I thought of another thing that we love that he says when you're thinking about, your business and profits, that thinking of that can be good in helping people as well. That, dream so big that other people's dreams can fit inside of it. That, build your business so big, and that is tied to profits, so that you have opportunities for your team members to make money, that they don't just need help, that they can be doing these things for that they can be bettering their lives in, having more income than they could have ever imagined because of what you're building.
Right. Because you're thinking so big. It's
Mhm.
amazing.
And that's why to do it, not just for the money in your bank account, but what you're able to provide for all of them. One thing you said that I want to discuss, like maybe how that has shifted, is in your discovery process, looking at people, looking at high achievers and what they thought of when they made it. And I always think that's an interesting thing, because as our life progresses, as we change, as we grow as individuals, made it. I mean, we're always striving for something more. There's always
Right.
something. What we thought made it was before. Sometimes you reach that and you're like, I did not want this.
Right.
Why did I want this?
Yep.
Right.
There.
Like this
Like,
is
me too.
this is a bad goal. Created more problems, or this wasn't what success was. And a lot of
Yeah.
times because it was a number or was someone else's success. But let's talk about that a little bit, on how your journey has changed, of what you've thought at different levels of when
Yeah.
you made it, and then how it's shifted and what that means to you now.
Yeah. So I came from this world of no silver spoon. Most people don't, but like I certainly had very little guidance in my life. So I remember thinking to myself, growing up in like little apartments where my mom was working all day and I'd be home all the time. I remember thinking to myself, like, how the hell do I get out of this? And I don't want to live like this forever. And it was wild, because then I got a little older and I started like going to different families' houses and seeing, like, being part of family dinners. And I remember just seeing all this stuff. And I was like, my God, I was like, not only am I poor, but like, I also don't have a family. And I remember thinking, like, how do I get out of this? And I remember at that moment, I was young, and I lived in like an older person's apartment place. So there was like never any kids around. So I would try to like write things down. And I remember being really little and writing down like who I wanted to be when I got older. And I remember thinking it all started with money. First, I got to get money. And I started to attach myself and try to figure out how to get money. And I started learning from different people. And that was the mission. And then I just wanted to like drive nice cars and be flashy and play that game like we all do, when you're just coming up. And the things that shifted in my life are when I got money and I started saying, like, I got way past all that and I started making some money. There was no fulfillment. I just felt like my bills were paid. I feel like I can kind of move out. I can never say I'm poor again. That's a huge win. My bills are paid. I'm living like a life where we're good. But for me, it was like the breakthrough happened when I realized that the real power, the most important thing in life are your friends and family that you take with you on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And building up an incredible community with you as you take that journey, because life is so unpredictable. And Brandon Vaughn says it, and he wrote it in the book too. He said, like, money is infinite, but like time, you only get so much. And it clicked with me over the last few years. Like, that's been my journey. Where can I spend my time? Who do I want to spend my time with? I turn down certain things now. I say yes to things that make me feel good. And like, I'm trying to invest into my family as much as I can. So it goes from that money journey to the better part of the story, which is being around people that I love, including myself. So, because you know that story too. You don't show up for yourself. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
So along that journey, I started realizing that my life matters too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, and understand the time. I mean, it took me forever to realize how important time was, especially now with the kids growing older, and we're both getting older. So
You are, bro. She's not.
she does look a year younger every time. It's crazy. She's 38 this year, right? 38. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we used to say yes to everything. Now it's like, no, like I'm not gonna say yes to everything anymore. I'm gonna say things that matter to me, things that are important to me, things that impact me in a positive way or impact somebody else in a positive way, not just to do it.
Right.
God, I can't. I hate turning things down for people to help them, but there comes a point where our time is valuable, and we can't just give it all up, just freely throughout the day. You can't buy it back. So,
and that time to fill your own bucket, like you said, that like your any investment in yourself is important.
Yeah.
I think you really realize that, like, you have to say no to things, because like you have to block out, like you have to preserve your energy. It is our greatest responsibility as leaders, as business owners, as parents, as partners, to guard that energy for ourselves. And that means different things at different seasons of your life. But if you say yes to everything, you are pouring to the people that matter most from an empty bucket.
So true. So true. We could probably all speak from experience on that one.
Yeah, exactly. And then last, I just wanted to echo I mean, as you've shifted from money to, family and things like that, that's just another big lesson, I think, in freeing in the story that you told. I had similar things happen in marriage where it was like everything you built was gone. What you thought everything was money, like that, this, the security and it felt like everything that you built. But sometimes that has to be taken away for you to realize, like, no, who I am because of that, the wisdom that I take into the next thing, like I can always have more of that. Money is infinite. I can always figure that out. But the time I invested in the person that I am, the wisdom that I took from it, no one can take that away.
Right. Nobody can, you're like talking out. I can almost feel like at a certain point in your life, probably like mine, there was like very little peace. Right. And it's like your soul's at rest now. It's like it's at peace. And, it's a beautiful thing. And not too many people ever get that. And I think that's like my greatest wish for everybody before their time is up, is that they find their happiness and peace, because everybody gets caught in their own mind and it's so precious.
Well said, Jon. What an incredible show. Thank you so much for kicking off season 2 with us. I'm so happy to get to see you in 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's coming up fast.
Get to have some good quality time together and catch up. Good to see you a couple months ago down in Florida. So I appreciate it. How can our viewers find more information about you and your company?
Well, it was an honor, guys. Seriously. I'm so grateful to be part of season 2. This is exciting. So I'm grateful for you guys. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at john@mrpipeline.com, or you can find me on social. I'm kind of Facebook, Instagram, playing in that world too. So message me for anything. If I can ever help you guys, that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That wraps up another episode. First episode, season 2 of In the Foxhole. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for another episode next week. Take care.